Episode number 102. Hello, you're listening to the Career Changemaker podcast. Having the courage to leave a career that you have worked hard to build and try something else can be tough. So in each episode, we dive into key career change strategies so that you have a clear understanding of what is required to transition into a new role or a new industry without feeling like you have to start at the bottom or have to take a massive pay cut, because ain't nobody got time for that. If you are ready for frank and honest discussions about how to become a career change maker, keep listening. I'm your host, lawyer turned career strategist and executive coach, Janine S. Brand. Are you eager to get unstuck and figure out what you would actually like to do with your career next? Have you been going around in circles trying to figure it out but getting no further forward? If so, you're going to love today's sponsor, my signature group program, the Career Clarity Academy. Changing career direction can feel overwhelming and daunting, but it doesn't have to be. In my signature program, we give you clear, step-by-step, proven processes for getting completely clear on what it is that you want to do and understanding how you can leverage your existing experience and position yourself to attract and land a dream role. To find out more, head over to lightboxcoaching.com/academy. I wanted to jump on and talk about this because I was working with a client yesterday. So she had an interview coming up. So we were doing some interview prep, going through and making sure that she was fully prepared for the interview. And something came up that I thought was worth sharing because I think that this is something that many people might be doing. And if that's you, I want you to avoid doing this, right? I want you to avoid overlooking your relevant experience. So she was applying for a role that is different from what she was doing before. So many of the clients that I work with are looking to make a career change. So they are looking to apply for roles that aren't the same as what they were doing before. So she was applying for a different role. So initially she was saying, this is really different from what I was doing before. I know that I need to articulate what my transferable skills are. And I just want to make sure that I am doing that in the right way. So as we got talking, I was asking her to really share with me what are some of the things she wants to make sure they know about her experience and the relevance of the experience that she's gained in the past, even though that experience is in a different field or in a slightly different from what it is that she'd be going into. And as we got talking and as she started really thinking back through her career history, she realized that there was a piece of work, a transaction, a project that she had worked on quite a long time ago that was actually a really good example of her ability to do the role that she'd be going into, because there were so many synergies between the experience that she had before and what it was that she was applying for and the role that she was interviewing for, that she had completely forgotten about it. And so the fact that she had forgotten about it, and it took some time for her to really go back and think through and recognize that that experience was relevant, is really, really important to think about, because oftentimes when we are looking at an opportunity and when it looks different from what it is that you're used to doing, and when the title is different from what you're doing now, it's so easy to focus on the lack. It's so easy to focus on the negatives and say to yourself, I would love to do this role, but I'm not qualified for it, or I don't have enough experience for this, or there are going to be so many other candidates that are far more suitable because they have far more relevant experience. Yeah, so it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to focus on what's missing. And what I want to encourage you to do is make sure that the focus that you're having on what's missing isn't preventing you from really paying attention to what is there and what you do have. Because if you are looking to make a career change, it's likely that when you look at the job title, when you look at the role, when you first look at it, I haven't done that before. I haven't done that particular role before. But what is required is for you to dig deeper. And instead of stopping there and saying, well, I haven't done that role before, and getting into a mindset where you're like, okay, I don't have what is required, take some time to really think about, well, what do I have? because our brains are so wired to focus on the negatives that can sometimes cause you to not look at what is there and what the positives are and what you are able to bring to the table. So for my client, she was starting to psych herself out around whether or not she would be a suitable candidate and whether or not she could really do this, because she was thinking, oh, this is going to be quite difficult. It's going to be challenging for me to demonstrate, what I can do. But when she took a step back and said, hold on, let me really think about my experience and let me go below the surface. So not just thinking about the job title, but what else? Because in every role, there are going to be specifics. There's going to be specific skills. There's going to be specific things that you've done. There's going to be specific approaches that you've taken, clients that you may have worked with, ways that you've worked that are going to be relevant to the role that you're moving into or you're wishing to move into. But if you're so focused on what is lacking and what you don't have, you could be overlooking all that you can bring to the table. Because the reality is you have lots of skills. You have lots of experience. You have worked hard and you've developed a body of work. But if you are not able to articulate how that body of work is relevant to the role that you're going to move into, of course it's going to be difficult for them to say yes. Of course you're not necessarily going to be the first choice if they can't see how you would actually be able to deliver and do the role that they are asking you to do. But if you are able to look back through your career history and identify some really key areas of your experience and your skill set that is relevant, if you're able to demonstrate that link and you're able to make it easy for them to see how what you've done in the past is relevant and useful as you go forward, then you put yourself in a completely different position as a candidate. So when you are preparing for whether that is your application, whether that is an interview, make sure that you are taking the time to really look at what have I done in the past and what could I be bringing to the table? Because if you just go into just thinking surface level, then you're not going to be able to bring up some of those golden nuggets, which may well be hidden in your mind. So you have to give yourself the time to really go back through and say, well, what is it? What is it do I have? And what is it that I can bring to the table? Because the reality is you only have that opportunity to, impress on your application, on your CV or on your resume, or if you get called to interview in that interview. And the person who is considering hiring you can only go on the information that they have. They can't guess. They don't want to spend lots of time trying to fill in the gap or hypothesize or think about what might have been based on what you told them. If you make it really plain, if you make it really obvious and clear, then they are able to make a decision based off that. So it's not their job to figure out, is this candidate the right fit for me? It's your job to really articulate why you are the best fit for that role and for that organization. And so it doesn't matter that you haven't necessarily done that particular role, but what does matter is that you are really clear on what the role is about, what is required for that role, why the role exists, what it is they want to achieve. And you need to be able to show how you can fill that gap, how you can deliver in that role, and how you can help the organization to get to where it is they want to get to. And so I'm pretty certain that there are many of you who are watching this that are just like my client, who have lots of years of experience, who have worked in multiple capacities, who have gained a whole range of knowledge and experience and expertise that you can be bringing to the table in a new role. But if you aren't taking the time to really think, okay, what can I do, as opposed to what I'm lacking, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You are, because you're not going to be able to show up and you're not going to be able to really truly articulate the value that you can bring if you haven't taken the time to figure out what that value is. If you haven't taken the time to figure out, well, what makes me different? What are some of the things that I've done in the past that are totally useful and relevant and sought after? If you haven't taken the time to do that work, then it's going to be hard for you to speak about it. It's going to be hard for you to be confident, and it's going to be hard for you to show up in the way that you need to attract the type of and land the type of opportunities that you want to land. So I really want you to look at how am I approaching things? how am I really thinking about what is possible? Because if I am going into a job search process and my mindset is really like, I don't think this is going to be possible for me, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this because I don't have the relevant specific experience. If that's all you're focusing on, then it's going to be hard for you to really find those golden nuggets, as I said. It's going to be hard for you to find those pieces of experience that you have, that you've done, that is in your toolkit. It's going to be hard for you to remember those things and be able to connect the dots and see like how they fit in. So it's important for you to go into this with, you know, a positive mindset and say, yeah, I might not have done this in the past, but there are all of these things that I have in my toolkit. And there are all of these things that I can then draw on in order for me to demonstrate that I am the right candidate for this role. Okay. So I wanted to share that with you because after we went through the mock interview yesterday, my client was in a completely different space and said how useful it was to be able to go through that and draw on those experiences. And her feedback, you know, after she did the interview was like it went really, really well. And she felt much more confident about what she was able to put forward because she had taken the time to do that work and not just focus on, this is a role that I really want, but I don't see how, you know, my experience aligns. Okay. So I just want to encourage you. And if you're someone who's saying, yeah, I know I want to make a move and I'm not quite sure how to articulate the value that I bring, I'm not even quite sure like how to draw out some of those key areas in my experience, then I invite you to come and join me in my private Facebook group, Career Change Made Simple, where I talk all things careers and career change and can encourage you, and you can join a whole group of people who are also on the same track and doing the same thing as you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Career Changemaker podcast. If you have enjoyed what you've heard today, then head over to iTunes or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts and leave us a rating and review. And don't forget to subscribe so that you can hear when the next episode goes live. And if you like hanging out on Instagram, then I would love for you to tag me and let me know what you really thought about the episode over there at Career Changemaker. Until next time, keep working towards your career goals and we will speak very, very soon.